song's called Alice's Restaurant, and it's about Alice and the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant, that's just the name of the song, which is why the song is called Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You just walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago, that's 2 years ago on Thanksgiving, when my friends and I drove up to visit Alice at the restaurant. Now Alice doesn't live in the restaurant, she lives in the church nearby the restaurant, in the bell tower with her husband Ray and Fasha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And having all that room, seeing as how they took out all the pews, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. Well, we got up in there and we saw all the garbage in there, and we thought it'd be a friendly gesture to take the garbage on down to the city dump. So we took a half ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed on toward the city dump. Well, we got there and we saw a big chain and a sign across the dump that said closed on Thanksgiving, and we'd never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before, and with tears in our eyes we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one until we came to a side road, and off the side of the side road was another 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff was another pile of garbage. And we decided that one big pile was better than 2 little piles, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. That's what we did. We drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep, and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obie. Officer Obie said, "Kid, we found an envelope with your name on it on the bottom of a pile of half a ton of garbage and wanted to know if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obie, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." Well, after talking to Obie for 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter and said that we had to go down and pick up the garbage, but we also had to go and speak to him at the police officer station. Now, friends, there's only 1 or 2 things that Obie could have done at the police station, and the first was that he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely and we didn't expect it. And the other thing was that he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we arrived at the police officer station, there was a third possibility that we hadn't even counted upon, and we was both immediately arrested. Handcuffed. I said, "Obie, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car," and that's what we did. We sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, "scene of the crime," unquote. Now let me tell you about Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this is happening here, and it bears no resemblance to Stockbridge, Georgia, where we was playing last night. But in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, they got 3 stop signs and 2 police officers and 1 police car. But when we arrived at the scene of the crime, they had 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get into the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station. They was taking plaster tire tracks, footprints, dog-smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 colored glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. After the ordeal, we went back to the jail. Obie said, "I'm going to put you in the cell." He said, "Kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. I want your wallet and your belt." And I said, "Obie, I can understand you not wanting you want my wallet so I don't have any money to spend in the cell, but what do you want my belt for?" He said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." I said, "Obie, do you think I was going to hang myself for littering?" Obie said he was making sure, and friends, Obie was, because he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and ground. And he took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the roll, slide down the roll, and have an escape. Obie was making sure, and it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? There's a song about Alice. Alice came by, and with a few nasty words to Obie on the side, bailed us out of jail. We went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner, couldn't be beaten. Didn't get up until the next morning when we all had to go to court. So we walked in, sat down, Obie came in with a 27 8x10 color glass of photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back each one, sat down. Man came in and said, "All rise." We all stood up, and Odie stood up with a 27 8x10 color glass of photographs, and a judge walked in with a seeing-eye dog, and he sat down. We sat down. Obie looked at the seeing-eye dog, and then at the 27 8x10 color glass of photographs with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back each one, and looked at the seeing-eye dog. And then at the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and began to cry because Obie came to the realization that it was a typical case of American blind justice, and there was nothing he could do about it. And the judge wasn't going to look at the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one to be used as evidence against us. And we was fined $50 and had to pick up the garbage in the snow, but that's not what I came to tell you about. Came to talk about the draft. See, down in New York City, they got a building they call Whitehall Street, where you walk in, you get injected, inspected, detected, neglected, selected, and infected. I went down to get my physical examination one day, and I walked in and sat down. Got good and drunk the night before, so I looked and felt my best when I went in that morning. See, I wanted to look like the all-American kid from New York City. I wanted to feel like, I wanted to be the all-American kid from New York. And I walked in, I was hung down, brung down, hung up, and all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. I walked in, I sat down. They gave me a piece of paper that said, "Kid, visit the psychiatrist, room 604. I went in there and I said, "Shrink, I want to kill. I mean, I want to kill. Kill. I want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth. Eat dead, burnt bodies. I mean, kill, 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 kill." And I started jumping up and down, yelling, "Kill, kill." And pretty soon he was jumping up and down with me, and we was both jumping up and down, yelling, "Kill, kill." Sergeant came over, pinned a medal on me, sent me down the hall, said, "You're our boy." I didn't feel too good about it. Proceeded on down the hall, getting more injections, inspections, detections, neglections, and all kinds of stuff that they was doing to me at the thing there. And I was there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. And I was just having a tough time there, the thing there, and they was injecting, inspecting every single part of me, and they wasn't leaving no part untouched. Proceeded through, and when I finally came to the very last man, I walked in, sat down, after the whole big thing there, I walked up and said, "What do you want?" He said, "Kid, we only got one question. Have you ever been arrested?" And I proceeded to tell him the story of the Alice's Restaurant Massacre with the 5-part harmony and full orchestration and all stuff like that. He stopped me right there and said, "Kid, did you ever go to court?" And I proceeded to tell him the story of the 27 8x10 colored glossy photographs with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back each one. Stop it right there. Said, "Kid, I want you to go over and sit down on that bench over there that says Group W. Now, kid!" Well, I went over to the bench there, and see, Group W is where they put you if you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. And there's all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people sitting on the bench there. You had mother rapers, father father stabbers, father rapers. Father rapers sitting right there on the bench next to me, and one there was mean and nasty and ugly and horrible crime type guys just sitting there on the bench. And the meanest, ugliest, nastiest one, the meanest father raper of them all, was coming over to me, and he was mean and ugly and horrible and nasty and all kinds of things. And he sat down next to me and said, "Kid, what'd you get?" I said, "I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage." I said, "What were you arrested for, kid?" I said, "Littering." And they all moved away from me on the bench there with the hairy eyeball and all kinds of mean, nasty things, till I said, "And creating a nuisance." And they all came back, shook my hand, and everything was fine. On the bench talking about crime, mother stab, and father rape, and all kinds of cruel things that we was talking about on the bench. And everything was fine. We was smoking cigarettes and all kinds of things until the sergeant came over, had some paper in his hand, held it up and said, "Kids, this piece of paper got 47 cents, 37 cents, and 58. What we want, no detail, no crime on there. Turn to the back, name, arrest officer's name, and nothing you gotta say." And he talked for 45 minutes, and nobody understood a word that he said, but we had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench there. And I sat down the Massacre with the 4-part harmony and wrote it down there just like it was. And I put down the pencil and I turned over the piece of paper, and there on the other side, in the middle of the other side, away from everything else on the other side, in parentheses, capital letters, quotated, read the following words: "Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself?" I walked over to the sergeant. I said, "Sergeant, you got a lot of damn gall to ask me if I've rehabilitated myself. I mean, I'm sitting here on the bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women's, kids' houses, and villages after being a litter bug." He looked at me and said, "Kid, we don't like your kind. And we're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington, and friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in some little folder, is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. And the only reason why I'm singing you this song now is that you may know somebody in a similar situation. Or you may be in a similar situation. And if you're in a situation like that, there's only one thing you can do. Just walk into the shrink wherever you are. You just walk and say, 'Shrink, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant,' and walk out. Now if just one person does it, they may think he's really sick and they won't take him. But if 2 people do it, in harmony, they may think they're both faggots and they won't take either of them. But if 3 people, can you imagine 3 people walking in, singing a bar, Alice's restaurant, and walking out? They may think it's an organization. And can you imagine 50 people a day? I said 50 people a day, walking in, singing a bar, Alice's restaurant, and walking out. And friends, they may think it's a movement. And that's what it is. It's the Alice's Restaurant Anti-Massacre movement, and all you gotta do to join is to sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar. With feeling. So we'll just wait for it to come around on the guitar here, and we'll sing it when it does. Comes. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You just walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. That was horrible. If you want to end war and stuff, you gotta sing loud. I mean, I've been singing this song for 25 minutes. I could sing it for another 25 minutes. I'm not proud. Or tired. So we'll wait for it to come around on the guitar again, this time with 4-part harmony and feeling. We're just waiting for it to come around. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Accepting Alice. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You just walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad